So everyone around you, potentially, can help increase your wealth and happiness. Getting friendly with people in the right environments can make it very useful when you do decide in your private life to go out. Suddenly your bar bills can suddenly be less than you thought they were going to be. Your restaurant bill can be less than you thought it was going to be when it comes, just because you have perceptively have done somebody a favour by helping them get something cheaper. But the irony of it is that you've made money out of it as a backhander anyway. So you win on all levels. It's just about keeping your eyes and ears up. Goals. Cool. Okay, that acronym, KISS a tit, not something for your private life, but it can be. But it's just to remind you to keep it simple, stupid, and think it through. Anything, and that is anything, because believe me, not doing that is also one of the major reasons why most people fuck up, including myself. Just diving in, having mad ideas, deciding it's a wonderful idea to get your cock out on Kilroy because the newspaper's going to give you a load of money, and not thinking through the consequence that Nickelodeon TV channel, which was giving you a contract for a year, might possibly cancel that, seeing as kids watch it. You know, so I'd have thought that through, rather than going for this big lump of money there and then, I would probably still have been presenting, well, I wouldn't now, but at that time, once on Nickelodeon, which ultimately would have been far more profitable than the one-off hit. So you do have to think things through. Everything has a consequence. What you do now directly affects where you will be 3 years' time, 5 years' time. You've got to think out the consequences, not just to yourself financially, but also in terms of where you want to be in 5 years' time and how you want your family or friends to perceive you. An example of that, like it or lump it, and I'm not, well, bollocks, why lie? I am proud of it, in one respect, but in a strange, twisted manner. I have appeared in porn movies many years ago, which, like it or lump it, are still on sale, still downloadable on the internet from certain publications, websites, without giving them a plug. Pardon?
Not a DVD at your right?
No,
Right.
no. This is well and truly firmly in fact. No, the Sport newspaper group have it on their website for anyone who's interested, unless you want a private showing, of course. No, no, that was a joke. Like, yes, offers already. No. I didn't think that through all those years ago. I did it, enjoyed it, yeah, made some money out of it. But like it or lump it, till my dying day, that will be on the internet. I know it's already on file sharing services, which means it's practically impossible to ever get rid of. Like it or lump it, somebody at any stage in my career or life can turn round and if they really were envious and vindictive, download it and send it to my kids when I've got some, and they can put it in thinking it's bloody Bambi and suddenly daddy's there. What you do in life can come back and in many ways fuck you over again. And that's the moral of what I'm trying to say to you. You've got to seriously think things through. Yes, I made money out of that, but it could potentially come back at any point down the line and cause lots of problems. I'm not actually that bothered about it, but some people would be. I am concerned about how my kids, when I finally do have kids, would take to something like that. But you've got to think, everything you do can come back and bite you in the arse. Okay. I'm going to leave that bit for now. We're going to leave that bit for now. Right. And the same thing again. Everything you do of a positive nature here, many years on, can be pulled out and used to your benefit. So, and this isn't why this sounds so, what's the word, calculating. And yes, I admit in one respect it is, but in the other respect, believe it or not, and some of you do know me better than others, but you know, some of you can vouch for the fact I'm not actually quite the nasty person that I make myself out to be sometimes. Pete, well, I must admit this is Pete that's led me down this path in life recently, from Prospect Tales. He convinced me it was a good idea to start investing money into third world countries. And I don't mean going back to the bungalow example, going and building a house. I mean actually giving them tax-free, no strings attached except one, lumps of money to help their business out. A couple of grand to Pete and myself, to them, they suddenly feel like millionaires. Because to them it's worth far more. Suddenly they can open another restaurant. They've got 2 premises, they're making 2 lots of money, they're twice as well off than they were, they get more respect in the community, and the fact that you may have got them to agree to let you mention the fact that you've sponsored them, the fact that then legally on all future advertising or anything like that you could quite correctly point out that you've sponsored this business expansion in Sri Lanka and as we're doing next month in Gambia. What a nice person that makes you look. I mean, it's just an unfortunate side effect that every time we go to this restaurant in Sri Lanka that he doesn't seem to want to take any money off us for food or drink now, for some reason. I wonder why. And I should imagine that's going to happen at the next place. But this works on several levels, okay? Firstly, for those that believe in these things, and oops, scary confession coming up, scary to me anyway, despite what I may say on some of my other training DVDs, I do actually believe in things like karma, the law of cause and effect. I don't tell too many people, otherwise my bad reputation's going to go way out the window. Technically, I'm not religious, thank God I'm an atheist, but I'm not actually religious, but as closest to that, possibly, I believe in a lot of what Buddhism teaches and a lot of what the Native American Indians teach, but not in a religious sense. I'm on about the things, well, that for me I've found useful. And one of those is karma, the law of cause and effect. What goes around comes around. If you do something good, quite often, not straight away, but you will notice you get that back tenfold. If you do something bad, it tends to come back and bite you in the arse. So by giving away, by not being so attached and giving some of this good back, and that doesn't necessarily have to be cash, pound notes. It could be just giving out up a couple of hours of your time for the Samaritans or whatever personally feels right for you. You will be rewarded many times over. Or some people watching the DVDs or listening might think I've lost the fucking plot. This is something you've got to decide for yourself, but I tell you it does make a difference. The example I've just given, it's noticeable immediately because the people are happy. You get treated like a king in these countries for the sake of a few grand. They'll remember you're like a god to them. Well, that's not the point. When you get back to England, you will find, call it synchronicity, coincidence, call it what you bloody will. I'm not bothered what it is, but quite often you find that things start happening. It's like, well, that's happened quicker than I thought, or that's gone better than I thought it would. So sometimes giving things away, ping pong, what's going now? Remind me to come into your bedroom and ruin your performance sometimes, sir. Yes, dodgy equipment. I ask you, can't get the staff these days. But that brings me on to the millionaire mindset. If you constantly, you probably have been conditioning yourself all through your life. I'm not saying you have. We have got to speak in general terms, but if you, going back to where we started at the beginning, if you've been thinking in your mind, oh bloody hell, the credit card bill's going to be in at the end of the month. Bloody hell, I need to get some more money in because it could do with saving some up so that we can go on holiday. If you've constantly been programming your mind to think where is the money coming from, then the knock-on effect of that is you're programming yourself to believe that you haven't got enough money, which means, and that's kind of ties in with what we said before, that when you do get hold of money, it tends to disappear so quickly. If you get the millionaire mindset, which, step one, is to believe you have got enough money. Now, I know this can quite often be difficult if a bill comes in and pure logic tells you that that is not in the bank. Yeah, obviously there's a certain element of logic here, but Do not be afraid of, if you need to, initially, borrowing money to make money. Show me a successful person who has not borrowed money, who has not speculated to accumulate, and, well, they're either incredibly fucking lucky or they're a liar. Because even people like Richard Branson still borrow money to this day. They use other people's money to make themselves even richer. Well, that's on a whole entirely different level. First of all, you've got to start making money, which is what the bulk of today will be about. Tomorrow will be about how to protect it and use other people's money. So do not be scared to invest, because you're investing in yourself. And that's the key. That's why you've got to start believing that you're worth it. Because that way then you will believe that it's worth the investment in yourself. If you don't believe that you're worth that investment, the chances are you'll fuck up whatever it is you start doing. If you believe in that investment and a particular project doesn't go to plan, fine, you'll pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and you will find, and that's the key, you will do something, you will take action, you will change course. Rather than it being another signpost of what you've been brainwashing yourself all your life of, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy. You've got to start thinking, yeah, I bloody am. Don't go out to a restaurant, I used to do it, years back. Go out and, I would like another bottle of wine, but if I have that wine, I might not have enough money tomorrow for that, and then that's going to have a knock-on effect. No, bollocks. All you're doing is programming your mind to say you haven't got, you're not worth, you won't have. You think, fuck, if you want that bottle of wine, you buy the bastard thing. You might be dead by the morning, so does it really matter whether the phone bill gets paid? By the same token, if you start programming your mind that you can afford these things, guess what tends to happen? You get out of life more of what you focus on. The irony of it is the number of times you spend money. I'm not saying go chucking your money away. What I'm saying is don't keep giving yourself an emotional attachment to money that says, this is expensive. Can I or can't I afford this? Millionaires don't think that. Millionaires think, I want that, I'll have that, I'm having it now. And then they make it happen. Yes, sometimes they may have to go and borrow money to make it happen there and then because all their assets are tied up somewhere. But if they decide I'm having it, they sure as well fucking have it, because that's what they set their mind on. They condition themselves that way. And that has a knockover effect into your business. And call it positive or negative, it has a knock-on effect in your private life as well. Sadly. But when you start thinking differently, like at a lumpy, you start acting differently. When you start acting differently, people react to you differently. It's not rocket science, but this is so important. That's why this morning session, I've been covering this, because it's pivotal to everything we're going to cover this weekend. When you start acting differently, you will get different results. Not just in your business, but in your personal life. And I hate to tell you this, but quite often that will mean, at some point, highly likely, your environmental circumstances will change. I don't mean just in terms of perhaps where you live, geographically, size of house, your lifestyle, but who you're with, who you spend time with. And I'm not just on about which pubs you frequent, or which restaurants, or which parties you go to. Sorry, but sad fact is, a large number of people who become successful through that process of having to think differently, to make you act differently, to do things differently, to make things happen, you do become a different person. Or you become the person you've set your mind on becoming, that you need to be to get what you want. And that can have the knock-on effect, like it, lumpy, of relationships breaking up. And if you ain't prepared for that to happen, don't put any of this into action. I'm not saying it would happen, it's not a negative suggestion, I'm just saying the number of autobiographies you read, the number of people that have become successful and circumstances change, is it coincidence? Or is it more logically something to do with the fact that they've had to become different to get to where they want to be? And when you get to where you want to be, if the person you are with has not got the same goals, dreams and ambitions, they might say they're right behind you. Yeah, and indeed they may be, because they love you to bits. Fine, whatever fucking love is all about. Love is just sex with a bit of fake emotion thrown in. And that sounds very cynical, but it's fucking true. But if they don't make those mental changes along the way, if they're not involved in it with you, you will have changed by this point, but they won't have. So it may not always be that they don't want to be with you anymore. When you're here and look back and think, what the fuck have you been doing for the past 3 or 5 years? You may be the one that thinks you don't want them. And if that puts you in some sort of scary, uncomfortable psychological zone right now, then be aware that it's thinking things like this through that will make the difference between how, I'm not going to say whether you're successful or not. Most of the ways we're going to look at today of making money can't really fail to make you more money. But it's down to your mental attitude, what you do, how much action you take, the difference of how quickly you get to where you want to be, or indeed whether you get to that point of where you want to be. But first of all, most importantly, and we'll have in a few minutes a quick brew break before we get on to how to actually make money, most importantly, you've got to know in the first place where you are going. And like it or lump it, you've got to examine yourself and decide, are you prepared to change who you are? I'm not saying you suddenly become some kind of egotistical, arrogant alcoholic like me. No, but what I mean, if you keep doing the same thing in the same way, you will get the same result. And I'm guessing the fact you're here this weekend or you're watching the DVDs is because you're ready, you made that conscious decision that something has got to change. Something has got to be done differently. Something, form of action has got to take place for you to start getting where you want to be. And step one of that is deciding what it is you want, when you want it, how you want it, and what you're prepared to do to get that. Because in some circumstances, when you examine all that, you find that what you want, the only ways of getting it, don't tie in with what you're prepared to do, which means it's fucking impossible. Unless you suddenly decide that you are prepared to do that thing that's like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. Sometimes you've got a choice. You either do it and get what you want, or you've just got to think it through and go, well, no, I'm not prepared to do that. Fuck it, leave it behind. And cut the emotional tie from it. It ain't ever going to happen. If you're not, if you thought out your destination and you work backwards and you look at it logically, methodically, and realistically, and you go, I need to do that, that and that to get that. And if you're not prepared to do those things, it ain't going to ever happen. So why waste the next 3 to 5 years on that course to something that, if you're not prepared to do those things, isn't going to happen, or along the way is going to make you unhappy? The whole point of this is to give you freedom, not just financial freedom, but the freedom to do, as I said before, and we will have a brew break in a minute, but I want you all back in here for 12 o'clock, please. And more importantly, anyone who's wanting lunch at lunchtime, if we could get a rough idea amongst ourselves what sort of numbers will be involved, so we can let the guys upstairs know how many of us will be going up so they can have seats ready, that would be good. But you have got to, freedom is what it's all about. And after the break, we're going to start on, yeah we are indeed, good, we are at that point. We're going to start on how to, the moment you leave here on Monday, start making money. Or if some of you have got laptops with you, how you could start making money tonight in your hotel room. No, it's seriously as quick as that to be able to put these things into action. The only thing stopping you doing it is you. But freedom is more important than money. Money is an element, but freedom to be able to do what you want, where you want, with who you want, when you want, is actually what makes you rich, happy, free, and you know, you don't always have to be a so-called millionaire. It's just a figure on a piece of paper to be able to do what you want, with who you want, where you want, when you want. It just depends on what it is you want to do, who you want to do it with, where you want to do it, and when, as to... That's far more important to the whole scenario than actually what size of house you want to live in right now, this second. And they're the things that I would beg you to sit down and think about. To sit down, write down, plan out, write down all your strengths, all the things from your past that you've done that can be put in a positive light. Write down all the things you've done, fucking hell, I need a book this big for this one, that could come up and bite you on the arse and make you look bad. Believe me, mine's much bigger on this side than it is on this side. Write them all down so you can look. Because when you're going through your 3 to 5 year plan, you know, perhaps, just perhaps, let's say, and this is just an example, let's say a certain DVD I made with an ex-fiancée of mine was leaked to the newspaper, and it happened to show me having some sort of intimate contact with her whilst wearing a schoolgirl's outfit, and there was a...
Who was wearing a schoolgirl?
She was. But if then that was to kind of come up years down the line, and I'd spent 3 to 5 years deciding I was going to set up a chain of nurseries, let's say, and employ qualified people, and that came up, I'm pretty certain a lot of the parents wouldn't be too pleased about having the kids at that nursery because of the perceived tie-in. So you have, you know, so therefore, having sat down and looked at what I did in my past that can be good, and it's all about context, because obviously if I was going to release if I was going to set up an adult club that specialised in schoolgirl fantasy, role play, dressing up for adults, then this DVD getting released might be a positive step in the right environment. But in terms of opening a nursery, it could come and bite me on the arse. So you need to sit down and look, what have you done in your life, good and bad? And sometimes the good things can be bad in certain contexts, sometimes the bad things can be good, depending on what it is you want to do to get where you want to be. And you've got to then look as part of that whole process and think, if that came up, how could I get round it? Is there a way of getting round it? Is there a way of turning that negative to a positive? Is there a way of putting a spin on it? You know, oh, yeah, okay, I want you to take drugs, but hey, that's why now we've set this up because it's helping. The knock-on effect of XYZ project is we give a percentage of profits to XYZ charity that help people get off drugs. You know, a bit of thought in advance as to where you want to be, how you want to do it, what you're prepared to do, but you've got to, I would advise you, because otherwise it will come and fuck things up for you like it did for me a number of years ago. You've got to think, I did that a number of years ago. What would happen if it came out? It may never come out, but you've really got to think. You know, the DVD I just talked about does exist. It's in my safe. It ain't getting leaked to the newspapers. That I know. But there again, do you have for certain that I could go on this weekend and have been wrong? So you've got to think ahead. Things can happen when you least expect them. And that's not a case of being pessimistic, it's a case of being realistic. If you plan for the worst possible case scenario in everything you do, then anything else that occurs above that is a bloody cracking positive result, isn't it? And if you've already planned for the fuck-ups along the way that could occur, you can either A, avoid them, or B, you're ready to handle them when they do occur, if they do occur, so it doesn't take you off your track, so you can reach where you're wanting to go within that time frame, or quicker. So it is so important to do your planning in advance, to do your soul searching, to be honest with yourself. Because some things you may want to achieve, when you really examine it, are just never going to fucking happen, even if you won the lottery tomorrow morning. Depending on what it is you want to achieve, of course, but there's sometimes situations where, like it or lump it, it ain't going to happen. And rather than spending your life wasted going, your time's far more better spent doing something that's realistic, being honest with yourself, which is fucking difficult to do at times. It's probably the most difficult thing on the planet, to be truly honest with yourself. But don't waste, be prepared to admit what your weaknesses are. It doesn't mean it has to stop you doing what you want. It just might mean that the slight difference is you've got a plan along the way to have made enough money by this point to bring in an outside expert to do that area of the work for you, so that it becomes possible to reach the end result that you want. So don't, when you start making money, be prepared to spend money to carry on making money. Don't think, I'm making this, I'm hoarding it up, I'm hoarding it up. No, that's the mentality that you're already in now. That's the mentality that says, don't have that other bottle of wine. The millionaire spends more money, puts a large chunk of what is being earned back into the business for that 3 to 5 years, so it can grow to the next level, the next level, the next level, the next level, to make it quicker to reach that end result, which will become clearer as the day and weekend goes on. Because then you're investing in yourself. Don't worry, it doesn't mean that your money's going to be tied up along the way. Tomorrow we'll cover tricks of how you can release some of that money. Legally. Some might say immorally, but legally release some of that money. But that's tomorrow. That's tax avoidance. And I did say avoidance, not evasion. That gets you put in prison. As Ken Dodd nearly knew. But, right. So, we're going to have a brew break. Can we all be back in here, please, at 12 o'clock, and then we will start showing you how to start making money. Come back in the room. For those on DVD, you won't have an envelope. Sorry about that. But you've all got an envelope, and that's from Beth, the lady at the back, who you'll have ample opportunity over the weekend to speak to. For those at home on DVD, visit www.telecomplus, which is telecomplus.org.uk/0999340, and then you'll be able to see what's in the envelopes. What I was saying before about saving money, this is all about what's in there saving money, but also what I was saying before about when you speak to people, you can naturally pass on other people's numbers and get backhanders and money out of it. Well, this is also a monetary making opportunity. I'm not a great lover of network marketing schemes because they tend to take rather too much effort for too little result, even if they do make you a lot of money. However, when it's something that just about every human being on the planet can benefit from, rather than some strange portion or herb, and all you've got to casually do is mention it to them, and you don't need to keep a garage load of stuff there, then it becomes a little bit more interesting when all you have to do is sign up and give out a web address or a telephone number, let somebody else do most of the work for you, but get commission off it. So as much as I'm going to say on that, but it is actually pretty much about the only networking opportunity that I am in any way involved in. Purely and simply because there's no effort involved, other than talking to people in the manner you would be doing anyway, in the same way as saying, go and see this plasterer or get your conservatory done here. So have a look at that in the break, and if you've got any questions, please do ask Beth, because this weekend is the time to take action. Don't think about it, go away and then don't do anything. Start the ball rolling right now. So, I'm going to leave that a bit really for now. Yeah, that reminds, right, whip them, yeah. Whatever you are selling, whether a product or service, and we're going to be talking in terms of products here, the products you actually are the normal CD-ROM, nothing special to look at, but on there are actually 7,000 products that you walk away with from this weekend, or with the DVDs, with the rights to be able to sell. No license fees to pay, my gift to you. And also there's numerous of them that have already got websites designed for them. Tried, tested, proven to work sales letters. We've already had the graphics done, the photographs done, the correct headlines done, that's proven to pull in money. So all you've literally got to do is get yourself a domain name relevant to the product, we'll cover more of that later, and upload the thing, we'll cover that more later, and then promote it. That's the key. Get people to go there so they can see the sales letter, which is going to do the selling for you. But all that people are interested in is themselves. whether they're buying a product or a service. What's in it for them? What's in it for me when they're thinking it to themselves? So, the key there, in sales they quite often say, sell the sizzle, not the sausage. Bit deeper than that. Sell the benefits of what it is, not what the actual physical item or service is. How can it improve that person's life, make them feel better, get them what they want? But it's even deeper than that. This is where sales is fundamentally flawed. Most salespeople fall into the trap of everyone out there must want this, so I'm going to try and get everyone to buy it, rather than taking the lazy man's route, which is, rather than wasting time with people who may or may not be interested, find the people who are already interested, already in the market for that service or product, and then all you've got to worry about is convincing them or bringing them to the intelligent decision that your particular product or service is better than the other one they were thinking about. Or ideally, hitting them at the right time so they don't even think about any of the competitors, it's a service, or they don't even bother looking for any other products because they see that what you're offering fulfills all their needs. Bang, 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 it'll do this, it'll do that, it'll do that, and hey, if you pay for it in the next 24 hours, you're going to get a massive discount for it. What's in it for them? They're going to save money, it's going to help them do whatever. That in general applies to any product. Obviously each product will have a slightly different approach depending on what it is. That's where common sense comes in and a little bit of research sometimes. Now some of you are probably thinking, products? I didn't come here to start selling products. But, well, let me tell you, you did, because you come here to start making more money. There's only so many hours in the day, point one. But we live in a wonderful time, a wonderful age, whereby you can be making money 24 hours a day for doing very, very little. Once you've set down your groundwork, that is. I regularly wake up in the morning, well, no I don't, not in the morning, that's a bit of a lie. Generally after lunchtime when I've been out on the piss, but I wake up, that's a plus point, and amongst my morning ritual I'll stick the laptop on when I jump in the bath, set it downloading the emails, come back, delete them, right? And then it's time to click on the PayPal account and the WorldPay account. How much money have I made? Well, I've been asleep. And it is a tremendously nice feeling. That's better. It's a tremendously nice feeling to know that while you've been asleep or doing whatever in bed, that you have made shitloads of money. Fucking fantastic. It's even better than to go to the pub and get pissed, well in my world, and then come home from the pub, tap on again and looking, I've made even more money! Brilliant! Because it's not rocket science. If you make more than what you're spending, then the amount you've got gets bigger. It's sadly as simple as that. So, and this is also true, you'll find as time goes on, that 80%, probably more, to be honest, but at least 80% of all the profits you'll start making usually come from just 20% of the effort. I.e., as you go along, certain projects you set up, you'll think, actually, it's making money, but the amount of time I'm having to put in it, the number of people who are bloody emailing, asking stupid questions about it, compared to the amount we're actually selling, is it actually worth fucking messing around with when I've got something over here making far more money, or the same amount of money, but people are just buying it now rather than asking stupid questions? Because that's where you balance what we spoke about before, freedom comes in. And this is something else you need to look at. How many of us in this room have ever, and I'm not going to put my hand up here, but ever done what we could call a conventional job, a proper job? Working 9 till 5, or working a night shift, day shift, or have a lot of you had that experience?
Yeah.
Damn, I do feel sorry for you. Fucking, I'm just a lazy bastard. I'd sooner kill myself first, that's a life decision, and go and work for somebody else. You would never get rich working for somebody. Never. You'll just make them richer. So rather than be the one who's making somebody else richer, be the one that gets other people to make you richer. Or there is a level above that which we'll come to, which is far more karmically balanced and harmonious. But in general, working for somebody else, and that's the key, for somebody else. It's a different matter working with somebody else, we'll cover shortly, but working for somebody, forget it. My grandfather, I'll leave my dad out of it for a minute, because my dad's never done a proper job in his life. He's a lazy bastard as well. He's always been a performer, and that's the way he's made his money. But the rest of the family was, shall we say, normal, whatever that means. The perceived populace's idea of normal. Go to work hard. Oh, people are respecting it. Come on. And they work like 40 hours a week for 40 weeks of the year, at least, for 40 years of their life, and then retire on 40% of the money they couldn't afford to live on in the first fucking place. Great life, that sounds wonderful. And they're working for somebody else, they haven't got freedom, they're being told what to do, and it's preordained for them when they can do it, and within limits, who, with, and so on. The direct opposite of what we want. You want to be able to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, where you want, under your terms, not somebody else's. With that peace of mind in your own head will in itself make you feel so much more confident inside that you will naturally, as a knock-on effect, become more confident, become more focused on achieving your aims, and it will all start to happen. It's a snowball effect. When you set it going, it gets bigger and bigger, and the momentum builds, and it becomes easier and easier for you. Cool. So what do people normally do? They go, well, let's see, what could they do? They could work in a shop. Now, much to my eternal shame, I did used to, but there's the key, I was the one that made other people make me rich. I did own the majority share in a head shop in Rochdale. Head shop, for those that don't know, sells smoking and drug paraphernalia. And things like that. Poppers, liquid gold, you name it, snorting pipes. It was one of those times in my life, but it was very profitable. But bollocks, when they had a couple of weeks off, I used to, just to see what was going on, make sure that I'm not getting ripped off too much. Because, if you employ staff in that basis, be prepared for it. You're not going to get ripped off to some extent. You've got to allow for it. I'd go in, and I'd sit there for the 2 weeks, open the shop up, 10 o'clock in the morning, sit there, most of the fucking day, nobody's coming in. Sat there, bored stupid, or reading a book or something, and occasionally somebody would walk in who was the scrote of the fucking earth. They'd walk up to the counter, half cut, half pissed, fucking having here, am I to talk, but I mean, scrote the earth, and have you got some poppers? Some liquid, I need some. Have you got any ganja, man? No, we don't sell that. We sell all the other stuff, the stuff that's legal. And you'd have the same fucking conversation 20 times a fucking day. With people you'd never choose to sit near in a pub. Fucking great life, I don't think. Anyway, that pissed me off, and for various reasons, got rid of the shop. It's still there, but no, this ain't my idea of lifestyle. Or you could work in a slightly more busier shop. Great, so all day long you've got people coming up to you asking stupid fucking questions, going mad if something's, slightly damaged. What the fuck? And what's happening? You get your hourly wage, whatever it is, which may perceptively, in your crazy fucked up little head, seem good because you're on a bit more than somebody down there. But at the end of the day, the profits in that till are going to some fucker who sat on his arse, probably doing next to naff all, because he's delegated everything out to other people. But that person themselves at the top of this so-called tree is not truly free, because they can't, generally speaking, and there are exceptions to this rule, but generally speaking, can't just suddenly decide that, fuck it, they wouldn't dream of going and getting shit-faced in the pub for the day, because they're too het up on, what's that store doing? How can we improve sales figures there? No, this suddenly sounds like you're working for an employer again, even though you're working for yourself. So some people, whether it's because they're made redundant or they suddenly have a midlife crisis and decide, got to start making some money, think, we'll start looking at business opportunities, and they buy stuff like Exchange and Mart. Wonderful. And they open it up. And this is this week's, February the 15th to the 21st. Let's see what cunning ways you could change your life for the better, Fucking hell. No, it must be true. It says it in here. I mean, you know, some people, that's what... Oh, here we go. Oh, this has got to be it. It's got a big ad. It must be the solution. Free, a complete collection of fast profit bets. You'll discover a superb horse racing bet that will show you how to win as much as £147 a day. £147 a day? That ain't going to change your life, I suppose, but fuck off. Bollocks. And what they admit to mention is a lot of people will also lose money. Because it's gambling. Gambling's not good unless you're gambling on something where the law of averages is in your favour, i.e. investing in yourself. Okay, well, whoa. Hey, this is more attractive. Spray your way to 75k per annum. Getting a bit more interest in the figure. Because I make that it's roughly 1,500 quid a week. Yeah, that's better than 7 lots of 147 quid. This is more like it. Oh yeah. With I won't give them free advertising. Spray coat business opportunity. For a small one-off investment of only £8,750, which includes full training and equipment, you can set up in this wonderful business where, according to this, you can earn up to 30% profit for each contract you do. 30%. Which will take you no longer than 4 to 5 days for each one. That sounds a bit fucking boring to me. It certainly is when you think that by the end of this weekend you'll be able to sell somebody a 20p, perhaps with cover, envelope, stamp, £1 investment in, CD-ROM, sent to them through the post, or better still, that they can download that cost you nothing off the internet, and maybe be charging them 47, 77, 97 quid for it. That's thousands of % profit. That sounds a bit more intelligent to me than that. What other stunners have we got in here? Chocolate fountain business. Fucking hell. Tremendous. Work for a few hours. That's better. Freedom, that's what we spoke about before. We only want to do a few hours work. Work for a few hours for a full-time wage. By whose standards? Full startup package, full training, weddings, fake shows, markets, all fucking great. Go and set the stuff up in the pissing down rain. Yeah? Now, you might only be there for 3 or 4 hours, but fucking hell, you've got to trek to wherever this busy site is where there's punters, set the fucking thing up, stand there all day, probably getting asked the same stupid questions. Oh dear, we're back in the shop. And then pack it all down at the end of the day. Yeah, brilliant. You know, yeah, obviously this is the way to go. More betting ones, and more betting ones. Oh no, what a cracker. Oh, this has got to be it, hasn't it? £100 an hour. Make up to 700% profit. Now we're getting into the realms of profit margins that are good. What is it? Dinky Donuts. Dinky Donuts. Yeah, which is a trademark registered, so I have to say that to come us legally. It's a registered trademark. Startup packages from just £2,495 plus VAT. Wonderful. Full training given in making Dinky Donuts. Suits any application, does it? Shopping centres, fake shows, markets, etc. Fucking hell, we're back in the shop. Admittedly, it's your Dinky Donut shop. But, I'm sorry, how many fucking donuts are you going to have to sell? Because I'm assuming, from the last time I saw these donuts, you got like 5 or 6 little Dinky Donuts for £1. So how many pounds do you need to be making so that with your running cost you end up with that magic figure we spoke about at the start of the day, which in the example was best part of £1 million. It'll be different for everyone. Well, it's going to be more than 1 million Dinky Donuts, because 6 in £1, so that's 6 million Dinky Donuts. Right? What's worse, you've got your running costs, your tax, your VAT, and all the other associated costs. So you're probably going to have to do 3 million quid's worth to end up with £1 million. Which is going to be 3, 6, 9, what is it by 6? It's 18 million Dinky Donuts to achieve your magic figure. I'm telling you something, I hope you'll agree. I've got better things to do with fucking life than aim on selling 18 million Dinky Donuts to get to my magic figure. How long is it going to take you to make 18 million Dinky Donuts? Forget the problem of selling them for a second. Right? Because I don't think there's that many people want that many donuts within a 3 to 5 year time span. And I'm suspecting possibly that if you do the maths, you'd be dead before you sold 18 million dinky donuts. So perhaps that's not really an option. Or you could go one step up and get something like National Franchise Magazine. Tremendous. Now what you've got there is an upmarket version of Exchange and Mart, where they have full colour page adverts, and in there you can get some cracking businesses in there. Must be, the dearer. Things like run your own wheelie bin cleaning service. Tremendous. You know, hardly any outlay except the 18 grand franchise fee up front and your monthly licence fee to use this fucking name, Wheelie Clean, if that is one, it's a registered trademark. I think it is actually. Do you want to have to clean out stinky fucking wheelie bins that have had used fucking babies' nappies in and God knows what else, hour after hour, day after day, week after week, to bear in mind how many you're going to have to clean just to get your original 18, 20 grand back, and the money that you've invested in the van, and no. What if there was a way to start up business tonight if you've got a laptop, or tomorrow, or the absolute latest Monday morning because you must take action, where for example you could take something that you invest in, like that disc, but I'm giving you that free because I'm such a nice person. Although you paid for it with the DVDs, it was the free bonus, but that's one of the tricks of the teacher. And be up and running within, well, it's up to you. First level of one of the techniques I'll teach you shortly, could be up and running in 5 minutes. And within a few hours, you can, if you've played the game right, be making money. And once it's set up right, be doing next to nothing and making money, whereby your investment, in terms of outlay, you are only spending out money after people have given you money. So there's no cash flow problems. Whereas in conventional businesses, especially shops, you're going to stop the fuckers up, and lo and behold, don't you find that you bought a load of fucking shite stock that nobody wants to buy, so you have to buy some more. No. This, if something's not selling, you will have a choice of either A, changing your approach, the way that you're selling it, or B, fuck it off and get something else to sell. Whereby, initially, because you've got 7,000 products there with rights, I'll also show you ways of getting other products for next to no cost or for minimal cost, i.e. far below what you're going to make back on 1 or 2 sales. Where your profit percentage on something that's costing you £1, if you're selling it for 50 quid, that's 49 quid, I don't know, do the maths. But I think it's a bit more than 30%, considerably so. Now, when you do the maths, at £50 per item profit, rather than 6 dinky donuts for £1, less your cost and time, immediately, it's pure logic, you've got to sell far less of these than you have of dinky donuts. Right? But if, let's just say, just perhaps you had several different products over here that are on autopilot, so you're selling some of them, 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 and it's set up in a manner whereby you are making a sizable profit on each one for very little effort, then you've got an income stream coming in from them all. And if one of them gets a bit quiet, the other one's making money while that isn't. And then your pool of money is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not rocket science to work out that you can reach that figure 3, 5 years down the line a hell of a lot quicker, for far less hours work, without becoming sick of the sight of donuts, or wheelie bins, or whatever other strange, fucked up, strange thing it is you've decided to do. You can actually make it happen. Because all the traditional business, or a franchise, if you go and buy a shop or something, you've got business rates, you've got bill after bill after bill, and yeah, it might be making you profit, an above average profit, but you've always got commitments. You can't suddenly go, I'm going to shut the shop for 6 weeks and fuck off abroad. But you can go anywhere in the world these days and operate certain types of businesses, especially where, nasty word for some people, but where the internet's concerned. That is the fortunate time we live in, because that brings down costs. The digital media age is, I mean, it's a bit fucked up, the logic here, but for example, digital media, DVDs in general cost more money to buy than videos did. I mean, pre-recorded ones. And yet, the irony of it is, to make a DVD is cheaper than it ever was to make a video. It's all about perceived value, but that's something else we'll talk about in a minute. But before I tell you how to get started in terms of the internet, I'm going to just give you one or two examples of things, because to start any of this, you will need a certain amount of money. I will give you one or two ideas that you can start straight away that require zero money, in theory, as long as you've already got a computer, as long as your power supply, i.e. your electric's on, and as long as you've already got an internet connection. If you've got those things in place, then you can start making money without really any investment. But some of the fucked up things I've done over the years, and these do make money, for relatively little effort, but they're not things you would ever want to do for 3 or 5 years. They're probably not even things you'd want to do for 3 months, because they do your fucking head in. But if you needed, for example, to get your hands on some startup capital, because you decided to use one of the ideas I give you this weekend and thought, great, but I need to get some money. One of the best ones is how to make yourself hundreds of pounds a day for watching television. And this does work. It's sad, but it works. This is actually where something like Exchange and Mart comes into its own. You buy something like Exchange and Mart or Trader or the World's Fair newspaper or a wholesale trade directory. But Exchange and Mart's pretty good. Trader is, in terms of finding companies that sell bankrupt stock, slightly damaged stock, or preferably reconditioned stock, i.e. ex-rental televisions, which these days, especially as they're now bringing in the plasma screens and LEDs, you can pick up standard cathode ray tube, massive tellies, reconditioned, dirt bloody cheap. I mean, talking like 10, 20 quid for a massive fucking TV. But perceptively, a couple of years ago, would have cost 500, 600 quid. And perceptively, second hand now, if you went in somewhere like Cash Generator, they'd still be flogging for 100 or so quid. So you buy yourself several of these tellies, and then you contact your free ad papers like Loot, or whatever your local free ad paper is. Your local paper quite often has a under £100 free ad section. You put in, for sale, television, due to upgrade. You know? So you make sure you've got your own plasma screen or LED, or you fucking go to Argos, okay, use your credit card, buy one, because you're only going to need it for less than the 14 days anyway, then you can take it back and get your money back, so it's cost you nothing. Although I'm not suggesting you do that, it's slightly immoral, but it does work. So that's the justification of why you're selling it. People perceive that that television's yours, you've been watching it. Obviously it's plugged in and switch on when they come. Your adverts cost you nothing, because they're in free ad papers. People ring up, believe me, you'll get more than one phone call, and you put on it price like, something dead cheap, 50 quid. It's cheaper than Cash Generator, right? So that these people are in the market for a cheap telly. You go, when can you come round? 6 o'clock? Fine, 6 o'clock. The next person that calls, yeah, can you come round at 6:30? The next person that calls, 7 o'clock. Or if you want to cut it fine, smaller than that, they come, they see the telly's working. They logically assume you've been watching it for ages, so it's fine. Sold as seen, you take the 50 quid off them, thank you, you've just made an easy 30 quid, but you're going to do that 3 times in the hour, which, like I say, you'll get fucked off with it after a while, and it's not something for long term, but for a bit of short term, quick cash in to invest in something, you can do the same with anything that perceptively you could be selling second hand, that you can buy reconditioned from one of the suppliers you'll find in these magazines. And you know, they only have like a minimum spend of 100, 200 quid these places. Whack it on the credit card, get them, ads are free, you've got the money in before your credit card's due, so you pay it off, and you've got some profit there to use for seed money. That's one way of you know, getting some capital together pretty quickly, watching TV and getting paid for it. Let me see, what other dodgy, slightly weird thing. If you could offer illegal information. Now, but in a manner where you're doing it legally, and one of the most important phrases, and that, you don't need to put this on a cookery book, but a lot of products with a high perceived value or somewhat dodgy marketing angle, to cover yourself legally, it's useful to have somewhere in small print on the advertising and on the product itself, this item is sold strictly for educational, entertainment and information purposes only. Misuse may be illegal. And believe me, that does